Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, November 30. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down the Sunday slate. We got a few more games than normal, actually, on a Sunday. 7 games, 4 of them, in fact, taking place this afternoon. So we've got a little bit more of a full slate than normal. But before we get to Sunday's action, as always, we'll begin with Saturday. And a look back just quickly. It started in Finland with the second and final game between the Stars and the Panthers, and Florida sweeps the Finland two-step against Dallas. The Panthers 4-2. They get the job done in that one. Very solid effort in both games from the Florida Panthers, and they're on a heater right now. No Stanley Cup hangover. Very impressed with what I'm seeing right now from this Florida Panthers team. And again, they get the job done with the win 4-2. Back-to-back victories against the Dallas Stars there. Boston shuts out Philly 3-0. We were on the air with Andrew during that game. And, of course, we saw the injury to Ersson. Kolosov comes in, and that was probably the best thing to happen to the Boston Bruins. Marchand, a great game. The captain stepping up. Good to see that. And Boston with the 3-0 win there. How about those Chicago Blackhawks? 4-3, a shootout win against the LA Kings. And System Play 1 let us down yesterday for the first time in a while. But System Play 2, which is betting on a team after losing to San Jose, which was the angle that fit Chicago yesterday, that's now 3-0 on the season. Every team that has lost to San Jose so far this year has bounced back and won their next game. And Chicago was able to do that. I think the LA Kings were guilty of not putting Chicago away, letting the Blackhawks hang around, and the Blackhawks ended up tying it up and then winning in a shootout. And as Alex, I'm sure, will talk about in his portion of the recap, the first time for ages that all 3 shooters scored in the shootout for the Chicago Blackhawks, which was great to see. Columbus gets absolutely whipped. This Washington team is so damn impressive. 7-2 for the Washington Capitals. They were all over Columbus early, ambushed them for 5 goals. A lot of my props that I mentioned on the show yesterday, hopefully you took them. Connor McMichael, Alexei Protas, mentioned both of them. They both scored for the Capitals yesterday. What a job by Carberry. I mean, right now, if you gave out the Jack Adams Award on November the 3rd for 1 month of the season, Spencer Carberry's your winner. I mean, he is. There's no question. What a job by him. He's a great coach, but I didn't think he was going to get this great a start from this team. I still think this roster is not phenomenal, but you can't argue with the results right now. And especially the way they're scoring. I did not expect Washington to be lighting things up offensively like they have been. And that's what's been really impressive here with Washington so far this season. What else did we see? The night games yesterday. They let the Chief down again, the Toronto Maple Leafs, losing 4-2 to the St. Louis Blues. We did at least get the first period puck line, but that was about it. Too many penalties, unfortunately, again, for the Leafs. Lack of discipline, lack of composure. Binnington, that's actually 2 of his best games this year were both against Toronto. He was very good again in the victory last night, but power play continues to be just a complete and utter just disaster for Toronto. You got to fix that, and they lose 4-2 to St. Louis. Ottawa with the shutout. Forsberg with the shutout over the Seattle Kraken last night, 3-0. Did not see that coming, but definitely a disappointing setback for the Kraken. Detroit, called out Dylan Larkin, and boy, did the captain ever respond for the Detroit Red Wings. He gets both of their goals last night in the 2-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. 2 power play goals for Dylan Larkin, and that was enough to stand up. And yes, Adam Gaudette, I should mention, yes, unbelievable. He scores again for Ottawa last night. Gaudette's better than Wayne Gretzky, apparently, at this point. But yeah, 6 goals in the last 10 games for him. You just got to keep betting that prop with him right now. And you're still getting like plus 600 like you did yesterday. I can't believe I've seen it now twice, but Pittsburgh's actually held a team to 1 goal in 2 games in a row. Where has this defense come from? But give them credit. They get a 3-1 win over the Habs. That game kind of hurt me. Nothing cashed there. Montreal team total. The overs fell flat. Not a great day for me, I'll be honest. Not a great day for me yesterday. But, hey, it's going to happen. Nashville with a 5-2 win against Colorado. Good call by Alex. He liked the Preds in regulation. Just too banged up right now, the Avs. Vegas rallies to beat Utah in overtime 4-3. That game, that's funny. I had the over bifecta, but I was stronger on the first period over. That falls short. Vegas 4-3. And what can we say? It's been an amazing run with the system play, right? It was 16-2, or at least by my count. I'm saying Chris Otto says it might be one a little different. We're going to try to get the real record of that, but apparently it could be like 15-4 or something. I might have miscounted. Either way, it's still been incredible. First period over and full game over with the team off a shutout loss, but it was not that way last night. Vancouver, San Jose, first period over, falls short, and the full game, and it ends up being kind of a stalemate for a long period of time. And then there was an explosion late, crazy finish, where Vancouver takes a late 2-1 lead. San Jose ties it with about 2 minutes left. And then in the dying seconds, Pius Suter with the game winner, a ripper over the shoulder of Blackwood with, 30 seconds left to give Vancouver a 3-2 win. It's been tough. I don't know if anyone had the draw. I didn't. But, boy, if you had the draw, that's tough. My goodness. I mean, you think, hey, they've tied it 2-2. It was 1-1 all third period. And then to see the draw snatched from you the last 30 seconds, pretty tough. Alex, your thoughts on a very busy Saturday?
Yeah, we can start with that game. Like I said, there are times where you have bad beats when holding a draw ticket. That was definitely one of those games for sure. That had the pace and feel for the most part of a game that was going to overtime, and then they get that goal very late. That's a backbreaker, and that'll happen a few times throughout an NHL season for sure. But like I said, that's the thing with the system play. Even if you have where there's a leg, there's two legs, it loses, you can't just completely jump off of it right now. This is different than a trend. It's different than an angle. That's why I mentioned that yesterday. I clipped that segment when you were talking about that Sharks and Hawks game yesterday, and with just analyzing how you set up a system. So with that being said, we'll be talking about the system again today because there's a big spot that qualifies within the parameters. But this is just definitely one of those things where it's something you still have to just kind of roll for a while. And as a bettor, when you decide to play on a system, like I said, it's something you can jump on or off in a sense, but you still have to be pinpoint following it, which is, like I said, that's why we need to get the correction with the record. I have 16-3 as well for the first period end. And like you said, that 13-5-1. So, but either way, that's still quality profit. And you can set a goal within yourself of how many losses are you willing to roll with before even jumping off of the, we don't talk about that enough with trends. You always say you're on a trend until it loses twice in a row. That may not always be the way to look at it with a system play, especially with something that doesn't have to necessarily pop up as a parameter every day. We've been just lucky enough to have this pop up in the last 4, 5, 6 days in a row now, where there's been a game prior to having a shutout. We could have 3 days, 4 days, 5 days in a row where the offense starts rolling and no one gets shut out and this angle doesn't pop up. So that's the reason why it's a system, and it's something that it doesn't always have to fit into the parameters of what the scheduling or the teams for that matter. A team like San Jose is probably going to be very dangerous within the system because they don't have consistent offense. So that's where your handicapping does come into play, is that you still have to identify who the teams are. And then that's where you have to utilize if you just want to roll with the system or not. It's a star that's within the handicapping of a certain game, and we now can either decide to choose that star or not.
And it has been so incredibly profitable that it would take like something like 1 in 9. I wouldn't get off it for a long, long time. Like, I'm not stopping. Like, even if this loses 2 or 3 in a row, we're going to keep going.
I was gonna say right now with first period over, if it's 16-3 by according to what our numbers have, I would roll that all the way until 8 or 9 losses. So that means I could go 27-9 potentially, still running that, just knowing that that's where if I have that as my parameter, that gives me kind of some leeway, especially with unit size, on what I plan to do moving forward. If I just say, I'm getting off of the next 2 losses, and then I lose 2 more, and then all of a sudden it starts to heat up again, then now I've costed myself money. So that's the thing. I think that I'm just kind of just breaking this down, especially for some of the newer gamblers who are watching this. We always have new people who join us at the beginning of the season every year. So just kind of explaining some betting strategy here of setting a parameter and kind of looking down the road with managing your bankroll in looking at things of this nature.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to point that out, that we don't just jump off when we lose one of these. And it's important definitely right now to point that out. All right, let's move along to Sunday. And this Sunday slate will begin with the Battle of New York to get things going. This is at 1 p.m. Eastern. We got the Islanders and the Rangers. New York Rangers minus 180, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. It's rare that you're going to see a coach very angry with his team after a win, but Peter Laviolette obviously didn't love his team effort against Ottawa. They got outshot badly, but Igor Shesterkin to the rescue, as he so often is, and they were still able to win that game 2-1. The Islanders snap a losing streak and an offensive drought as well, as they score 4 and beat Buffalo 4-3 on Friday night. That was a system play, of course. Islanders Sabres that night. First period, full game over with the Islanders off the shutout loss. We'll see how this one plays out. Don't really have a strong feel. It's important to know there's a line shakeup going on with both teams. Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Anders Lee are being moved up with Bo Horvat. So you're talking about two guys that have some value. JGP and Anders Lee might have some value for the Islanders now with Horvat. Siplikov scored against Buffalo. I think he's worth a look here for the Islanders, value there. And for the New York Rangers, we're going to see some changes. I'm seeing Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, and Alexis Lafreniere maybe as the top line, moving Lafreniere to that group to get them going. Will Cooley, I think, is a great prop today because he's playing now with Vinny Trocheck and Riley Smith. Probably some really good value. And Will Cooley, I like his game. He's played well this year so far for this New York Rangers team. It's funny. There's been an over series. The last meeting did not go over, though. It stayed under. We'll see how this one plays out. There's a lot of unders yesterday, as Aaron says. We'll have to see. It doesn't always mean it's going to continue, but it is something to monitor and keep in mind. I mean, I have a small over 5.5 and a very small piece of the draw as well in this game. That's really about it. And it's not just Islanders anymore. If you actually look, Islanders, Rangers, they played a lot of close games. The last meeting between these teams also went to overtime as well. So just to get the games going here, the day going, I should say, a little over 5.5 and a little bit on the draw, but nothing really all that significant here for me. Alex, what do you think? Islanders, Rangers?
Yeah, I got the first period over, which I'm glad I waited. I was going to bet that last night, and now I've seen it drop. Now you get $1.15 all the way down to $1.11 on that first period over. I think we do see some kind of goals and back and forth early. These are two teams used to playing in the daytime, used to playing each other in the daytime, and I think, like I said, that makes a difference. Just familiarity, and certainly having a rivalry too. That shouldn't be any issue with the energy level between these two teams with the start. So I do like the first period over, but I also like that draw. I grab plus 380 with that over at FanDuel. Like I said, some history with these teams going past regulation, and I could see this one being kind of a close game with an earlier start. So first period over and the draw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, John Massey not thrilled about the scheduling of this game on a marathon Sunday in the New York area, which is kind of absurd. I agree, especially and NFL, not to mention. But yeah, it is what it is. That's like I say, I like the 1 o'clock Sunday games after NFL season. Obviously, that's when they should be doing them. And obviously, TNT usually jumps in after football ends with these 1 Eastern games. So I'm sure you're going to see that once the season ends. All right. By the way, Shesterkin and Sorokin, battle of Russians in net. Not really much of a surprise there. Lightning and Jets. We've got Winnipeg minus 135, home favorites, 6 the total. 10-1 Winnipeg Jets. What a start to the year. Tampa Bay on this road trip started with the win against Colorado, which isn't saying much because it's like an AHL team you're playing right now. And then, of course, they follow that up and they lose to the red-hot Minnesota Wild 5-3. So back 2 losses for Tampa against Minnesota this year. I'm not stepping in front of Winnipeg. I mean, I'm very impressed with how they've righted the ship. I thought maybe that Toronto loss would send them back in the other direction a little bit. They'd start to lose a few, but they did play a struggling Detroit team in Columbus. So this will be a bigger test here for this Winnipeg team, but I'm done stepping in front of them. I did the one time with Columbus or Detroit, I should say, after they lost to Toronto. And, of course, Jets rolled. Jets, look, I'm not playing a Jets under right now. I can tell you that. They are lighting it up offensively. That's what's been surprising about the run. It's that usually it's their defense that carries them. They're scoring in bunches. I mean, they're 7-1 over the total their last 8. 5 straight overs coming into this game. They've scored no fewer than 4 goals in 5 straight games. So we'll see how this one plays out. It's going to be no goalies actually confirmed yet, but Hellebuck, Vasilevsky are your projections. Yeah, I'll dabble on over 6 here, but again, that's about it. Nothing for me on the side. I don't want to be that guy that bets Winnipeg here on the 10-1 team laying -135, and this is the day that they don't have their best. But at the same time, I'm not stepping in front of them either. And look, Tampa's one of those teams too. Like, we think they're a little bit better on the road here this year, but they also, have on this road trip, they beat a Colorado team that is so badly undermanned. And then when they played someone pretty good, they couldn't get the job done against Minnesota. So we'll see how this one plays out, but I have a little bit on the over. That's about it. Alex, what do you think here? Lightning, Jets.
So I kind of tipped my hand to this yesterday, but I'm on the Lightning. I grabbed Lightning plus 120. I thought that loss against Minnesota wasn't that bad. And we talk about how we like to back the Bolts off of a loss. And like I said, a competitive loss and being still on the road, having a day in between too with Minnesota and Winnipeg. A lot of times the Minnesota Winnipeg trip, be it starting in Winnipeg or starting here, will be a home back-to-back spot. So having, I think, that extra day as well, I think that just gives them some good pace, good momentum, early start time. I think Tampa Bay goes in with a little business mentality, takes care of business early, and wins this game. So plus 115, I still endorse that. I think this is a good spot for Tampa on the road.
Yeah, I mean, off a loss, I agree with that. We know this team historically, especially in their heyday 2-3 years ago when they're in the final and winning the Stanley Cup. They were very good off a loss. We'll see if that continues here. Connor Geekie might be the guy that's got value. I like Nick Paul, and he's always worth a look for Tampa Bay. But Connor Geekie now with 2 goals in the last 4 games. It's Morgan's younger brother. And he is up on the second line with Cirelli and Hagel. So getting a great opportunity. I mean, take your pick with Winnipeg. Ehlers is on fire. Velarde's capable. Perfetti's capable. Connor is also on fire right now for Winnipeg. So you can go in a bunch of different directions as far as props go. But this is a good game. I know football dominates on a Sunday, NFL, but I'll be tuned into this. This is a really good hockey game this afternoon, Tampa Bay and Winnipeg. Looking forward to checking it out. All right, Washington and Kakalaki. We've got Carolina Hurricanes -260 home favorites, 6 being the total in this game. I'm so bloody tempted to take Washington, even though it's a bad spot in a back-to-back, but I don't know if I'm going to. That being said, I'm not stepping in front of this Caps team. It's been so impressive to watch. It's been so impressive to see the Connor McMichaels of the world, the Alexei Protas players of the world stepping up, and that's why they've been able to score so many goals. Mangiapane, who they got from the Calgary Flames in the offseason, has stepped up. Ovechkin now starting to find the back of the net in recent games. It is a pretty damn brutal spot, though, so that's where my hesitancy comes in to take Washington here. I mean, they're on a back-to-back 24 hours later after playing at home against Columbus yesterday. They're now in Carolina. Carolina with a distinct rest advantage because they haven't played since Halloween on Thursday night, so they've had 2 days off. They're rolling. They're 5-0 in their last 5, 7-1 in their last 8 games. We'll see how if that can continue here in this one. The Capitals have given them a couple of tough games last year. They actually split the season series last year, 4 meetings, and they each won 1 game at home and 1 on the road. So it was a pretty evenly matched situation here. But I'm telling you what, I'm tempted by Washington. I don't love the spot is not good ultimately with them on this back-to-back. We'll have to see who's in net. I'm seeing Charlie Lindgren expected, not confirmed yet, though, for Washington, and Pyotr Kochetkov expected, not confirmed for Carolina. But the fact remains with Freddie Anderson, he's got this another situation has cropped up from an injury standpoint for him, lower body injury. And the last Rod Brindamore talked about it was Friday, and he said it's looking more like it's week to week. So you pretty much have to expect it'll be Kochetkov here in net for Carolina. So just based on the price and the form, I'm certainly interested in Washington, but I can't say I love it because it is a tough spot for the road team. What do you think here, Alex? Washington, Carolina?
Yeah, I would take some small looks at the over by Fecta in the spot. That's the only thing I would look at. Except with Washington, they got their offense rocking and rolling, but this could be a tricky spot defensively. I remember that track meet that these two teams had last March, where it was like 8-7 was the final, and just found its way to go in overtime too in that one. So not playing the draw, but would have some smaller leans to the first period and first period over, full game over. And both teams score in the first. So small sprinkle in the trifecta.
Might be worth a look, the overs, believe it or not, because we did see 6-2, 7-6, couple of the games last year between these two teams, and the last 3 meetings have had at least 6 goals scored in them. And we know Washington's going over the total like crazy right now because they're scoring at goals in bunches. Like I said, I don't know if this is going to keep up, but other than the shutout loss to Tampa, 6, 4, 6, 5, 6, 7. It's the number of goals they're scoring in these games. It's just been remarkable. I like props more than anything in this game. I like Jack Roslovic for Carolina. There's good prop value here. He's still on the top line for them with Aho and Svechnikov. I think there's value there. I think with Eric Robinson on the second line as well, but definitely Roslovic's my favorite. He's been really good lately, heating up, playing on that top line. And for Washington, I say run it back with Protas, run it back with Connor McMichael, run it back maybe even with Andrew Mangiapane, who's starting to heat up right now for the Washington Capitals. So those are definitely the favorite player props and that I'm looking at here in this game. There's definitely some good value as far as that market is concerned for this Washington and Carolina game. All right, Seattle and Boston. We've got the Seattle Kraken off a shutout loss, so our system plays in effect here. Boston minus 180, home favorites, 5.5 the total. It's over by Fecta for me, as you know. Even after the setback with the Vancouver San Jose first period and full game over last night, it's still an incredible track record this year with these games to the first period and full game over for teams off a shutout loss. And obviously we have that in play here with Seattle coming off that shutout loss last night to the Ottawa Senators. We'll see if they can bounce back and rally the troops here in this game. We'll see if Boston gets a little more offense going as themselves. They did get 3 against Philly. See if they can continue to get a little bit more punch from the entire lineup. But it was a very good sight for Bruins fans to see Brad Marchand get going a little bit yesterday in the 3-0 win against the Philadelphia Flyers. Grubauer and Swayman are projected but not confirmed. I would expect Grubauer. It is back-to-back, and we saw Decord last night. So, yeah, I like a first period over, full game over. That's about it. Nothing for me on the side. Although I'll tell you this, if you force me to bet a money line, I'm still not laying minus 180 with Boston. I know they've got slight rest advantage because they played in the afternoon. Seattle had to play at night and more travel coming from across the border from Ottawa. But I'm not. Boston's not in the form of let's lay minus 180 with team right now. They're just not for me. So I could only look at Seattle at this price, but really I'm going to stick to the over by Fecta and the system play. Alex, what do you think here, Seattle, Boston?
So it's interesting, like I said, now that we're rolling with the system play, this is probably maybe the 4th or 5th time since we've been doing this system where it's landed on a spot that I already originally liked in a game before the spot. And I looked at obviously looking at the early lines from yesterday, I liked the first period over. So now having that spot kicking in, this ended up being a best bet for me. I just kind of give it away a little early. I doubled up on this last night and grabbed this, and I grabbed it late $1.15. So now you can find it as cheap as $1.10 with the first period over. You can find 5.5 at minus $1.15 or $1.20 to the full game over. I think this is a great spot, and I think just like I said, with Seattle coming back, we've been talking about this now. This is a couple of games. It's something have to look out for, where the league is not really caring about having a whole lot of time in these back-to-backs, especially if the travel's short. If you've got a flight of 90 minutes or less to your next destination, they're going to have you play an earlier game. So that's something we might have to start just keeping a little eye out for with some of these back-to-backs. Is it a true 24-hour plus gap, or is it a little bit more condensed? And that's something that'll probably reign more important in a longer road trip, catching those timing spots along with those kind of scheduling spots as well. But I do think we see goals here. And you mentioned Boston coming off of a shutout win. I wonder if that's something that would kind of enhance this, the system a little bit, because, all right, you had this great defensive game. Now you're susceptible to giving up goals, right? It's the inverse of what we're looking at, where the team off the shutout loss now wants to press offensively. So, I think Boston, they're not going to expect to have 2-3 games in a row with shutouts. So I think that kind of enhances the system a little bit. First period over, heavier, and then also on the full game. Nothing with the draw, nothing with sides.
It's important to know, too, with the 3-0 Boston win yesterday, Tortorella drilled into the Flyers players after the Minnesota game last weekend when it was 7-5, and it was a trend. He says, we can't play that way. We have to stop trying to play that way. And since then, Philly's been a dead nuts under team. The first Boston game in TD Garden, way under. St. Louis, Philadelphia, way under. Yesterday, Boston, Philly, the rematch, way under. They played 3 unders since Tortorella read them the riot act for getting in a fire wagon hockey game with Minnesota last weekend. Now this game might have that more flow to it. Seattle's going to push pace. That's the way they do it. They just got to find a way to score. They've had games where they've exploded. They're playing fast. They're playing with the pace of an over team. They're playing with the mindset of an over team. But finish has been spotty for them throughout the course of the season. And obviously we're going to need some today for the first
We also
period.
have a great counterpunch team in Boston, right? If Seattle can get things rolling first on the board, then we know Boston's going to come back with them with a counterpunch, and that's where the momentum goes. I'd be a little worried if Boston jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Now we'd have to be a little bit more reliant on Boston to carry that offensive load, something they haven't really been able to do consistently this year.
No doubt. I love the Beniers prop that Bailey mentions. Beniers is a Massachusetts kid. I haven't read or heard anything about whether he's going to have family there at TD Garden today, but you got to think that's a possibility to have family and friends there to watch him. So yeah, Beniers props make sense. Probably worth a look. Tolvanen to me is worth a look here for the Montour. I know you didn't. Nobody scored last night for Seattle, but still the new father bump. He did have a hat trick recently for the Boston Bruins. There's not a whole lot that stands out. I mean, there's a lot of players that have been scuffling offensively. Right, I would give Patra a look. Patra actually is someone that's had chances. I think he scored one of their goals yesterday against Philadelphia. Maybe Matt Patra for a little down the board shot to find the back of the net here for the Bruins in this game. All right, we move to, well, I guess this is early evening in the Eastern time, but late afternoon locally in St. Paul. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota minus 115 home favorites, 6 the total. This game is one of those games where I feel, I kind of want Toronto off a game like that last night. But if I bet them, they'll lose. And at the same time, another part of me says, well, I want to really ride this red-hot Minnesota team and the way they're playing right now. And I feel if I bet them tonight, they're going to lose. And Toronto will get them. So this is just I want to stay totally away from this game. It's a good one to watch, though. It was a setback for the Leafs last night. They were playing better, though. They had won a couple in a row, Winnipeg and Seattle earlier in the week. But again, penalty trouble, power play. It's a power outage right now for this Toronto power play. It's shocking that they are now, I think, dead last or second to last I checked with their power play ranking in the NHL. I mean, that's how bad it's been for Toronto right now. They're rolling 21 points for Kaprizov. Absolutely tremendous win against Tampa Bay because of how tricky that spot was. First game back home off a very long and successful road trip, and they didn't get caught in the trap, and they beat a damn good team as well in that spot. Tampa Bay 5-3 the other night. Now they needed some Gustafsson heroics, some puck luck. Tampa just couldn't get that tying goal late, but nevertheless, Minnesota's playing well. I'm not comfortable, especially now. Look, we always talk about Minnesota's overvalued at home, but this is actually cheap by usual standards of Minnesota on home ice at XL Energy Center. But I lean Wild. I don't want to go against them. They do have the rest advantage, but I'm going to stay off. It feels like, for me at least, one of those games where I'll decide I'm going to bet one of these teams and they'll lose. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel that way about this game. Alex, do you think your Leafs Wild?
There are just some teams where you just have that feel when especially when they match up against one another, and this is a spot and it's a tricky scheduling spot, it's a tricky time spot. We talked about that too, where some of these games that start at these kind of weird odd times, 5:00 locally. I like the draw here in this, and I think that's kind of predicated on the fact, like I said, Toronto trying to get things rolling. Yeah, trying to get things rolling offensively, and especially on the power play. But Minnesota, they know they have to tighten things up a little bit defensively after that track meet they had at home against Tampa Bay. They gave up that goal late. They had a ton of chances, Tampa, to tie that game. Minnesota cannot afford to just have that many shots, fired off late in the contest with a lead like that, but just have to clamp down a little bit. I think I could see their defensive clamping down and Toronto trying to get things rolling a little bit on offense. That's going to clash, and I could see this game going a little bit longer. This could be one of those games that go into a shootout that go about 8 or 9 rounds before you find a winner. There's a reason why you had that gut feeling of not taking a side. I think a side might be tough to lean on throughout the entire contest. So maybe you can take a shot and try and grab somebody in game once it goes to a plus price. Someone has a lead, fade the other side. But I wouldn't be touching the side here, just a draw. Plus 370 at FanDuel.
Yeah, there you go. Draws live, I think. I really do. And remember, this East versus West. Leafs won't care. Minnesota picks up a point and vice versa here in a matchup like this. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
first period.
probably get it.
Not crazy about this first period over. I saw that in the chat. It's a good price, but I can kind of see, like I said, pace wise, especially if Minnesota, if they don't want to press. When we see the first period overs cash at XL Energy
Toronto
Center, it's
has owned this
Minnesota.
team. 5 straight wins over the Wild, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. But Minnesota is usually the team that's pressing offensively
Yeah.
when we see those first period overs come in. If they aren't pressing the pace at home early, then we tend to see those games kind of, almost stay under, or it takes a late goal in the dying seconds to get it over that 1.5. So I'm not on the first period over.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, Minnesota 3 straight overs, but I don't know if this is an over spot. Toronto off the 4-2 loss. We'll see how they fare here in this game. Trying to see what their results have been as far as totals off a loss. Looks like a mixed bag, some overs, some unders. We'll see how this one plays out. Yeah, Berube wasn't happy. You're right. He was actually pretty calm about it, considering what I've seen in the past. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But it is worth noting that, again, the last meeting actually was a 4-3 Leafs win in Minnesota, but in overtime. So there you go. It leads credence to the fact that maybe this game is a draw. Stolarz should be in net for Toronto because Woll got the start last night, back-to-back. We should see Anthony Stolarz tonight. Gustafsson has already been confirmed here in net for the Minnesota Wild. As far as props, Rossi for Minnesota, 100%. He's been terrific. Can't argue with Kaprizov. You're not getting great prices, but he's just been terrific. You know who's someone that's flying under the radar right now? Freddie Gaudreau for the Minnesota Wild. Maybe that's a nice little down-the-board shot here for Minnesota. For Toronto, Matthew Knies. For Toronto, Max Pacioretty. I keep going back to those two in particular because I think they have definitely stepped their game up and have great chemistry on their lines right now. And you're actually still getting pretty good prices on their props at the moment. All right, we move along to the Battle of Alberta. I don't care what the records are. It's always fun when it's the Oilers and the Flames. Edmonton minus 150, road favorites. The total in this game sitting at 6.5, shaded to the under here in this game. Look, first game without Connor McDavid. They beat Nashville 5-1. I think it was a pretty tidy defensive game as well from the Edmonton Oilers in that one. For me, I'm not on board with just, we got to fade Edmonton in this price because there's no McDavid. I liked what I saw. Leon was a beast. Absolute. Now, part of that is he just destroys Nashville every time he sees them, but he was still great. He stepped up big time. Yeah, Knies in Minnesota, Bailey. He played his college hockey there. 100% another reason to like Knies prop tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But yeah, getting back to Edmonton, Calgary, Draisaitl was great. Zach Hyman sighting. What a sight for sore eyes that was. Corey Perry steps up with a goal. Victor Arvidsson gets his first goal as an Edmonton Oiler against his former team that night. I was very impressed with the way Edmonton stepped up. Now, I'm not laying the price with them either. Coming off that, I got to see more. I want to see more continued team step-up effort without number 97 in the lineup, but it was definitely a good start. I do worry, too, for Calgary. Dan Vladar, by the way, confirmed in net. He was very good against New Jersey, but coming off there, it was kind of an emotional night, against New Jersey for them, and they played well. Much-needed win to stop the bleeding, but, Backlund gets the 1,000th game ceremony before the game. They have the big win, big shutout win. We'll see. You should be amped up and emotional for playing your rival in Edmonton, but we'll see. I mean, I initially leaned Calgary as well, but I'm going to give Edmonton a chance to really show that they can build on what they did against Nashville. I thought for a first game without McDavid, that was as good a complete team game at both ends of the ice as they played, and I give them credit for it. And they're still the better of these teams, in my opinion. So, like I said, we're going to look maybe towards something live. The draw, I'm kind of tempted by it. I couldn't argue with an over simply because a lot of times you get chippiness and physical play, but I saw Edmonton really try to tighten up defensively. So I can't even say I'm in love with looking over, especially at 6.5. Alex, what do you think here? Oilers, Flames.
Yeah, if I'm looking at anything over, it would be in game because we're obviously seeing these numbers move. These were sixes, actually early this morning, but even last night these opened at sixes in most places. So obviously we've seen the number move, which makes sense. Battle of Alberta, everyone anticipates goals, you anticipate penalties. It's a shame. A FanDuel, and like I said, I'm working on this article. This will be on the Patreon in about a week or two. But keeping track of props that have been either added to boards or deleted. One that's been deleted of note is that the over power play goals that we were cashing left and right at mainly plus prices on FanDuel. Those are gone now. Those over 1.5. So the book kind of caught on to that, and they finally took down some of those stale numbers. So unfortunately, this would be one of those games. If you find a book that still has over power play goals, I would definitely take a shot with that. Like I said, they're trying to clamp down defensively, but we know how physical this rivalry is. There's always those penalties. There's always those 4-on-4 chances, and you have or odd chances where a power play comes out late. I think you can definitely find some value if you can find that proper round. But I would be looking for goals in game. So this is a live game for me.
Yeah, definitely live game. I agree with that. There are some props I like Connor Zary for Calgary. Coronado, I think there's value. They're up the lineup. Sharon Govich as well. Leon Draisaitl, you don't get great prices, but I think there was a real show from him against Nashville to really step up and take this team by the throat and bring them around. Maybe Arvidsson gets red hot. You can look in that direction as well as far as goal props in this game. One more to mention, too, from the Minnesota game. He is riding a 7-game multi-point streak, 7 games in a row where he's had at least 2 points. If you buy into it continuing tonight for Minnesota, Kaprizov over 1.5 points is like plus 125. You can go in that direction with it. I mean, he's 7 straight games with at least 2 points. I mean, it's hard to talk anyone out of maybe a look to that. Kaprizov over 1.5 points in that game with Toronto taking on Minnesota. All right, the final game of this Sunday slate. Back-to-back for Alex's Hawks. The Chicago Blackhawks taking on the Anaheim Ducks. We've got Anaheim rather, minus 130, home favorites. Total in this one at 6, shaded to the over. I mean, Anaheim has really seen their offense sputter, and it's concerning. It's concerning you only score 1 goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Even in the win against the Islanders, 3-1, Dostal was phenomenal. It's not like they generated a ton in that game. So, their offense is kind of stagnant right now. 2 goals or less in 3 of the last 4 games. In fact, they haven't scored more than 3 goals, in 7 straight hockey games, this Anaheim Ducks team. So they have had a tough time finding the back of the net. They're off that 4-game road trip back home for the first game. Not the greatest spot for Anaheim. But for Chicago, it's the 5th and final game of their current road trip. Not the greatest spot for them. So who do you trust here? Chicago and Anaheim. We know it'll be Arvid Soderblom in net tonight for the Blackhawks. Projections are Dostal for Anaheim, who's been terrific all season, but not confirmed yet. Let's pump the brakes on criticizing Arvid here. 2.52 goals against, 911 save percentage. Obviously, the Buffalo game he was in net, they did lose, but he didn't play terrible. And we know he played great, good enough to win against Winnipeg in the earlier start he made this year. So this one is just maybe I look toward a draw here in this game. It's kind of what it's got that feel to it. We certainly saw overtime with Chicago and LA yesterday. But, man, you just can't get 2 worse spots for these teams. I mean, you got Anaheim off the long road trip in the East, back home. That's not a spot I'm laying a price with Anaheim. But Chicago back-to-back, going home after this game with Soderblom in net, who I know has been solid, but I worry that the bottom falls out any time now. That's always in the back of my mind. So, draw. Not a strong opinion. Doubt I bet this game, side or total, honestly. What do you think here, Alex? Chicago, Anaheim.
No, I like this draw spot, and like you said, it's for those scheduling reasons. The end of the road trip for the Hawks. Second leg of a back-to-back, and off of a great comeback win. This feels like a game where at least I think the Hawks do bring some of that carryover energy early, but it could fade out a little bit late. Like you said, Anaheim.
Chicago first period may be a good bet because this is probably worse than the first period for Anaheim. The long travel east to west. Chicago maybe has the jump early and a little bit of bump in their step, hitching their giddy up after the big comeback yesterday, and then maybe they peter out later in the game. Yep.
If you're to look at it at any side point, you're right. Yeah, Hawks first period would be your best option in that route. But I think we could see a cross of, like you said, Hawks playing well early, Anaheim maybe getting their legs under them a little bit late, and then this thing settles down. And if you're talking Dostal and Soderblom, obviously massive advantage Anaheim with Dostal. But Soderblom's played well. The thing is, you just don't know, like I said, when's the bottom going to fall out? And the fact that even he's played well, still hasn't gotten those victories. So this is one of those, like I said, tough spot for a side. The roll of the draw here, plus 360 available at FanDuel. That's a good price. I think anything plus 340 or higher is a worth shot here with the draw.
No doubt. Now keep in mind, we think Dostal's in net, and if Dostal's in net, now I might get involved if it's not Dostal, because that could open the door. Maybe I look Hawks team total over, because there's a big drop off to Reimer right now.
To Reimer, yeah.
From Dostal.
I think over by fact the in game would be live if it is confirmed Reimer.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting on. So I can't move until I know that.
So
I want no part of any overs with Anaheim with Dostal. None at all.
I'm fine with a draw. I'm fine with a draw with either goalie. So the draw play that I mean it's already in. But I endorse it either way. But I would be adding over by fact the in game if it is Reimer starting.
Here's why I don't think it's set in stone. It's Dostal tonight. He had a real heavy workload the last 2 games of that road trip. Islanders fired a lot of pucks at him, 41. Pittsburgh fired a lot of pucks at him, 45. So he faced 86 shots in those last 2 games of that road trip, Dostal, against the Islanders and the Penguins. And so that's a lot of rubber to face. But so to me, it's not a surefire thing that he's going to be in net here tonight. But he's got a 1.99 goals against average so far this season for the Anaheim Ducks. Again, this kid from Czechia, he's following up what he did at the World Championship and building on a solid year at times last year. He's taken that step. Been impressed. It could be a lot worse for Anaheim with their offensive struggles. This could be a lot worse for Anaheim if Dostal hasn't been on top of his game.
Definitely.
No doubt about it. Great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. We always try to get this show completed by the start of the Sunday NFL games. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. Again, sign up. Daily sides, totals, and player props posted each and every day. Goalie charts, totals charts, and more bonus content. And again, your subscription goes a long way to keeping this show going long term. So sign up, just $10 per month. We love how many subscriptions we've gotten the last month. It's been amazing to see. Keep it up. We're pushing for even more. $10 per month. We've kept it reasonable for everybody. Same price for years. $10 per month. Patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store. It's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Today is the final day for free standard shipping on all orders. It goes until midnight Eastern tonight. Put everything in your cart, and when you get to checkout, you take standard shipping. That's absolutely free. We got everything in stock right now, so don't miss out. Last day, free standard shipping right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
And important to remember, we're right back here tomorrow at the same time, noon Eastern, every Monday moving forward. Including tomorrow. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgater Sofa. And a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our great Ice Guys sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc., our daily sponsor and official sponsor of the Betcasts. BostonHempInc.com, 20% off using the promo code Ice Guys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. It was our guest, Andrew McGinnis, in our little Ice Guys reunion yesterday that chipped in with a bargain bin winner on Nick Foligno for the Chicago Blackhawks. And we'll see what we can do to build on that here on this Sunday. Alex, what do you like for your bargain bin special?
So yeah, he went with a Blackhawk player yesterday, which is the route I'm going today. They plan on taking on the Anaheim Ducks. I'm looking at Connor Bedard. Someone in the chat mentioned that he's been quiet. Yes, he has been a bit quiet. 3 goals, 6
Almost a
assists.
point per game, but a quiet almost point per game.
But a quiet, right. And he had a ton of chances yesterday, especially in the overtime against LA to try to bury one. Couldn't quite do it. Like I said, Bedard, he's not just a goal scorer. He's a playmaker. He's a facilitator. I think he'll have chances to get to his guys tonight against Anaheim, especially, like we said, not necessarily Dostal. If it's a Reimer, there should be more chances available. So give me Connor Bedard, 2 assists, plus 550 available at FanDuel. I think he's going to get some, be able to help out some of his teammates, and they're going to be able to get the job done as far as the goals go. So Connor Bedard, 2 helpers, plus 550 at FanDuel. That's my Sunday bargain bin special.
All right, there you go. That's I like it. Something a little different. Connor Bedard, 2 assists for Alex B. Smith here with his bargain bin special of the night for this one. All right, my bargain bin special of the night. I'm down to 2 choices, and I've got to make a decision now which one I'm going to go with officially. But plus, I want to see what the current prices are, and BetStamp's not cooperating. Let's see if we can get that. Okay, he is available at a bargain bin price. Yeah, plus 340. BetMGM, best price available. Going back to Minnesota, Matthew Knies, Toronto Maple Leafs, plus 340. I like that quite a bit. Beniers is a good one, too. That was the other one I was considering, actually, because Beniers is over plus 300 as well for Seattle, back close to home. But I'm going to go with Matthew Knies, Toronto, plus 340. Played his college hockey with the Gophers, and I think you're going to see him step up. He was pretty quiet last night. That hasn't happened very often for Matthew Knies. That whole line was with Matthews and company. So, yeah, Matthew Knies, Toronto, plus 340 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got?
All right, Seattle, Boston, rolling with the system. First period over. That's been 16-3 without off the shutout loss. So now getting a great price. If you're available with a Circa book, you can lay $1.10 on the over 1.5. But anything up to $1.20 is a buy sign for the Kraken and the Bruins. First period over. That's my Sunday best bet. It's an afternoon spot.
All right, Bruins Kraken, first period over for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet, I'm going to go Washington, Carolina over 6. Washington's just scoring goals in bunches. I could see that defense struggling a bit today, back-to-back for them after playing yesterday. We have seen, believe it or not, a couple crazy games high-scoring-wise with the Hurricanes and the Capitals. So let's go with Washington, Kakalaki, over 6, minus 115 for my best bet here for this Sunday NHL card. That is a wrap. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Tuesday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Monday at noon Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.